Good morning, Cedar Valley. This is Dan Larson. Welcome to Quiet Echo. A Nobel economist died last week. His name was Edmund Phelps. He was 92, taught at Columbia 60 years, and won the prize in 2006. I did not know his name before, but the obituaries described his work in a way which stopped me. They said Phelps put the human being back into the dismal science. He refused to treat the economy as a machine. He insisted, against the consensus of his time, an economy is a theater of human expectations. People hire, invest, build, and plant on the strength of what they believe will arrive. The expectation is the engine. By the time the harvest comes, the field is plowed. I sat with the sentence about the plowed field a while. It was an economist describing what every farmer in this valley has always known. The seed goes in the ground before the rain comes. The work happens in the cold months, on faith in months not yet come. By July, when anyone can see the corn, the labor of February is months past. The harvest looks like the gift. It is. But the gift only arrives because someone, in the cold, committed to a summer he had not yet seen. I have been a stake president for some time. I have watched a lot of weddings. I have signed papers for young couples buying houses on the strength of jobs they had not yet proved at. I have watched men and women begin missions whose ending they could not see. I have watched parents bring a first child home and commit, in advance, to 20 years of a life they did not yet know how they would afford. I have watched congregations build chapels for membership rolls they hoped to have a decade out. Every one of those acts was a field plowed for a harvest the person could not yet see. Let me tell you about one of them. There was a young couple in my ward some years ago, the year I am thinking of. He had a job he was not certain of. She had a job she had taken because his was uncertain. They came to me before the wedding and asked me gently whether I thought they ought to wait. They could not yet see the house, and they could not yet see the children, and they could not see how the math would work if either job went away. I did not tell them to wait. I told them what an old stake president had told me at my own wedding, which was this: nobody ever sees the math at this stage, and the math fills in afterward, in the way the math fills in for almost everything worth doing. They went home. They got married. The job he was not certain of held. The job she had taken let her stop working when the first child came. The math in the end filled in. The harvest came. I am not saying every harvest comes. I am a stake president, and I have buried young people, and I have watched marriages I had hoped for not hold, and I have watched jobs go away from families who had committed to them. The plowing does not guarantee the harvest. Phelps would have said the same. The expectation is not the harvest. The expectation is the engine. I want to spend a moment on this because it is the part of any faith worth keeping which gets the least said about it. The harvest sometimes does not come. The young man I buried last fall had been a missionary. The young woman I sat with the night her husband left her had married him on faith in a future the two of them had decided to trust. They had plowed in good faith, and the field gave back something other than what they had expected. I do not have an easy word for them. What I have is the same word my grandfather had and the people of this valley have had for 68 years. The plowing was not wasted. The harvest is not the only reason a person plows. Sometimes the field, even when it gives back something other than corn, is the field which made the man. But here is the part I want you to hear. The young couple in my ward did not get married because they had calculated the harvest. They got married because they had decided to trust each other and the future they were trying to build. The decision came first. The math came afterward. The order matters. Phelps spent his career proving the order matters. The committing comes first, and the world arranges itself around what people have already committed to. The economist would have called it expectation. The Bible calls it faith. Hebrews puts it this way: the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. A young couple buying a house is not, in their own minds, demonstrating Hebrews. They are buying a house. But the act underneath is the same. They are committing on the strength of a future they have decided to trust. I want to be careful, because I do not want to make Phelps into a preacher he was not. He was an economist. He did not invoke God. He may not have shared my faith, but what he proved, with mathematics and 40 years of careful work, is this: the deepest engine of any economy is the same engine which has run my congregation since before any of us were born. People commit to a future they cannot see, and the committing is what causes it to arrive. The field is plowed before the harvest. Every harvest you have ever brought home was committed to in advance. By faith, by expectation, by hope, by trust, by whatever name you keep for the act. The names are different. The act is one act, and a Nobel economist spent a lifetime telling us so. May he rest in peace. And may the rest of us in the cold months keep plowing. Cedar Valley News has a Facebook group. There is a conversation going on. Tell us about a field you plowed before the harvest came. I will put the link in the show notes. This is Dan Larson, your host for today's Quiet Echo. Thanks for listening. Quiet Echo is part of the fictional Cedar Valley News series, written by Evan Swenson, publisher, and Claude Marshall, AI developmental editor. While the people and town of Cedar Valley are fictional, Edmund Phelps, his death on May 15, 2026, his 2006 Nobel Prize, his career at Columbia University, and the lines of his work described in this podcast are real.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open. This is Cedar Valley News.